Councilman Porter, are you having issues with your audio? It's still saying that it's trying to connect.
There you are, Steve.
Yes.
Good.
Amy, did they tell you I had a COI on file?
No, they did not, but that's okay.
Workshop 5A.
Mr. Porter, we are going to address all of them together here in a few minutes when we kick off the meeting. It's not just you.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
Okay.
Glad to see you laughing.
Yeah, I might resemble one of those as well. So,
All right. Hi, Carol. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And you?
Excellent. Sharon. Hi.
Hello, good to see everyone.
we got Billy.
Yeah, it's nice to be seen.
Someday we may all be in person.
That would be nice.
Hope so. That's for sure.
Hopefully soon.
Here is doing weird. Sooner than later, hopefully.
Yeah.
F-Tab, how are you?
Oh, hi there, Steve. How are you?
I am doing much better, thank you.
Yeah. Did you get your vaccine yet?
No, I can't.
Oh,
I did get COVID for Christmas, and they gave me plasma,
okay.
and so I can't get a vaccine or have any more tests for like 90 days or something.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm in the similar situation.
Get your vaccine?
No, I didn't. No. I also had Christmas COVID.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know.
Congratulations.
Great. Are you fully recovered? Bob?
Okay,
Sorry?
sorry to interrupt. Whoever is WPH, YJWP, can you identify yourself before we start the meeting, please?
Yeah, this is Jerry Polasic. I'm one of the HOA board members at Ganaway Lake.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Chair, it is now 4:00 and you may begin.
Okay, so we're okay. We can start. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Sugarland 4B Corporation on Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. And let's see, for citizens who desire to address the City Council Board and or Commission with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and or received at this time. Do we have anyone that would like to address?
Ma'am.
All right, I would like to close this item and next move to the next item, which is consideration of and action on the minutes of December 16th, 2020 meeting. Are there any additional corrections or comments to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, so we have Director McCutcheon who had the motion and Director Porter second. I'd like to go around. Director Saunders.
Aye.
And Director Gasani.
Aye.
Director Kamali.
Aye.
Director Atkinson. And well, I didn't hear you, but I saw you raise your finger, Director Atkinson.
Aye. There you are. Aye.
Thank you. And Director Porter.
Aye.
and Director McCutcheon.
Aye.
And I also approve. The motion carries unanimously. Let us now move to the next item, which we're going to workshop. It's review of and discussion on fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021 joint capital improvement project program and applications. Whitney Williams, Business Development Associate, will be going through this. And let me ask this though, Elizabeth, did you want to address some of the comments that were made before we started?
Hey, Trish or Devin, can we address the recusals and just the email that went out right before the meeting?
We have several recusals specific to HOAs. And so Mr. Porter will be recusing himself when the Ganaway Lakes slide comes up. And Mr. Gasani will be recusing himself during the Commonwealth slide. And so at that time, they will be placed in the waiting room and brought back out. Director Sewell will only recuse if one specific item that does not have a separate slide gets a question requested. But that is how we will handle the recusals during this virtual meeting. So thank you all for your help.
Thank you. And Whitney, would you like to proceed at the presentation then?
Yes. Good afternoon, board members. And also I want to say hello to all of the organization representatives that are on the call today. Today, we will be reviewing the applications received for the 2020 and 2021 Joint CIP application process. So to start, I will review the background of the application process. The program opened for applications in January 2020. We received a total of 16 applications. In March of 2020, the program was put on hold due to the pandemic. And the process resumed in October 2020, and we will use 2020 and 2021 funds for a total of $400,000 and will not solicit new applications for 2021. Next slide, please. So just as a quick refresher, in early 2020, we updated the program criteria. We expanded the definition of community-based organizations to include recognized community groups and further define the types of qualifying projects and project locations. Next slide, please. So just a summary of the applications we received. As previously stated, we received a total of 16. 11 of those projects were deemed eligible with a total request of $456,638.21 from 4B. 4 projects were deemed ineligible due to incompliance with program criteria, and 1 project withdrew their application. So based on feedback from the staff committee, we created a scoring matrix based on several criteria like projects that have the greatest need, projects that have long-term benefits, and projects from organizations that have never previously applied to the program. Next slide, please. So with that, staff recommended funding the top 9 scoring projects that total $426,656.23. And so being that that is over the allotted $400,000 from 4B for this program, staff recommends requesting the remaining $26,626.23 from the SL4B Reserve for Opportunities. So just to include this scenario would actually exclude 2 eligible projects. Okay, next slide, please. All right, and now we will review the applications in detail. So first up, we have Barrington Place HOA. This project consists of replacing their wooden fence along Alston Road with a lightweight concrete fence. The total project cost is $131,704, and the SL4B contribution would be $65,852.05. And I believe we're going to stop, correct me if I'm wrong, after each one and ask if you have any questions. So anybody have questions about this one?
I can speak for it. It's in District 1. This is along a street that kids walk to school, and their fence was deteriorating pretty badly. And sections of it were falling over on the sidewalk. And I suggested that they take advantage of our program. I'm glad it made the cut. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Whitney, I have a question. The one project that withdrew, are you going to tell us which one withdrew in a later slide or no?
No, I wasn't going to mention it, but I believe I can say it if, yeah. That would be Covington Woods.
Okay.
And
great.
they withdrew because of funding issues.
Because their own funding issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
understood. That's what I wanted to know there. And then the two projects that are excluded, what are the total dollar amounts of those two?
Let me pull it up 1 second. About 29,000. A little over 29,000.
Total between the two?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. Can we talk about that later or now?
We can talk about it at the end of our with our recommendation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll keep moving forward. Can we get the slides up? All right, next slide. So next we have Colony Grant HOA. The project consists of a replacement of new park equipment at Colony Grant Park, which is located at William Trace Boulevard and Williams Grant. The total project cost is $58,228.63, and the total requested from 4B is $29,114.31. All right, and I'll open it up for questions again. All right, no questions. We'll keep moving forward. Okay, and the next one is Ashford Lakes Community Improvement Association. This project is going to be a phase 1 and consists of replacement of a wooden fence with concrete perimeter fencing along Alston Road and Ashford Way. The total project cost is $655,000. I'm sorry, $655,080, and the total requested from 4B is $75,000. Any questions?
So I do have a question, Whitney. So is that you say phase 1, what does phase 1 consist of? And then what happens going forward after phase 1?
So phase 1 is the fencing along Alston Road and Ashford Way. And so their goal is to have fencing along the entire perimeter of the neighborhood, but they're going to do it in sections, and those will be the different phases.
And that 655 is just for phase 1?
Correct.
Okay, so then they may come back for wanting more funding to do other parts of it.
Yes, that's the plan.
In your map, is all of those arrows phase 1 or just part of it?
That's phase 1.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, let's keep moving. Okay, the next one is Chimney Stone HOA. This project consists of the final phase of a perimeter brick wall to replace wooden fencing along Settlers Way Boulevard. The total project cost is $127,395, and the total requested from 4B is $63,697.75. Questions on this one?
Yeah, to refresh my memory, has Chimney Stone HOA had some fence replacement done a year or two ago as well? Or was it Ron, and is this the same one? I can't remember.
No, this is an addition. This is their final phase. So they have applied previously for joint CIP. Their project was large, and therefore they split it up into phases. And so I believe their last application was in 2018. So now they have applied, and this is their final phase to complete the fencing for their community along the eligible areas, of course.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, next slide. All right, next we have Settlers Park HOA. The project consists of phase of a phase 1 for wooden fence replacement with a brick wall. So they're replacing wooden with brick. The project is located along the Settlers Park side of Settlers Way Boulevard, and the total project cost is $168,669,000, and the total requested from 4B is $75,000. Questions?
So Whitney, I have more of a general question. A number of these projects are fence replacement. Do we do anything to either work with suppliers or the HOAs to maybe get some consistency, or to have them work with any particular vendors that economies of scale can help the cost of it, so that each one is, and maybe we don't because we don't want to be that closely involved, but it's just a thought of economies of scale and saving money.
We leave it up to the HOA, but our staff committee looks through and makes sure that, the fence looks good where it is and looks good compared to the other fences around it. So we do have that kind of vetting process, but as far as like helping them select vendors and things like that, we don't, we try to leave it strictly up to the HOA.
Right, but you do some aesthetic review and
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
I could share a little information as a member of the associations of First Colony, that the associations within First Colony have shared that information on the vendors we use for the brick wall replacements of fencing. So there is coordination there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schuler.
All right, any more questions? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so the next one is the first of 2 projects for Sugar Mill HOA. This one consists of entryway landscape improvements along Jess Pirtle and Eldridge Road. The total project cost is $33,043, and the total requested from 4B is $16,521. Okay, any questions about this one? All right, next. Okay, and so we have the second project from Sugar Mill, and this project consists of entryway landscape improvements at Eldridge Road and 7th Street. So this is their other entrance. The total project cost would be $50,425, and the total requested from 4B is $20,212.50. Questions?
Question, can you go back one slide? Perfect. I just wanted to make sure where you were. So they've submitted it as 2 different projects, but could have really submitted it as one because it stays below the 75.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, one more. All right, so Director Porter.
Right, I think, yeah, he has to be recused and the waiting room.
Yes, he's in the waiting room. Y'all may go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have Ganaway Lakes Estates. This project consists, this is the final phase of this project. So, and it consists of a fence replacement between Ganaway Lakes Drive and Glen Laurel. The total project cost is $167,971, and the total requested from 4B is $75,000. Any questions on this one? Okay, we'll move on.
I have, I don't know if, this is Jerry Plosik, one of the board members at Ganaway. Just want to say thank you for everyone who's approved our first 2 phases. This is our 3rd and final phase along Bernie Road to make the fence unified, and it matches kind of the Glen Laurel fencing. The other thing that I want to say, just having dealt with fences now for, I guess, about 15 years, it concerns me, just brick fences in general, because I've seen a lot of them replaced in our neighborhoods, in Sugar Land and other neighborhoods. When people are replacing wood with brick, I don't know especially in First Colony, I'm hoping that they do a different system of brick, because ours failed rather rapidly. And I've seen, I've done tons of research on the brick fences, and one company has made a fortune brick restoration by restoring these brick fences from an idea that I had, but it still doesn't fix like a lot of the problems with the popping and the cracking of the bricks. So just a caution to anyone doing brick fence to make sure that they do some better underlayment foundation work, because the bricks do fail, and that's why we actually moved to this concrete, this lightweight like Falks concrete system, because if the landscape shifts, it kind of slides on a pole, so the fences won't crack or break. If a car runs through it, which we've had happen a couple of times, you can pull off a panel and replace it very cheaply and match it. If someone spray paints it, it's just paint on the outside. You can repaint it. So this, to me, I know we're only a few years in, this seems like a very economical and an easy upkeep fence system that I think would be good for Sugar Land in general, that's replacing any kind of wood or brick fence. So just my take on that. It's where I got this from was visiting Utah. I always go there, and this is really all over Utah, and I always think how nice and new their fences always look. And this vendor's out in Utah that actually supplies it and makes this fence. So just for any other HOAs out there, seems like most of these were fence projects, and that's kind of my 2 cents. If anyone needs to contact me or ask me information on my opinion on it, I'd be happy to give it.
Thank you.
So Whitney, I think this was a excellent input from this gentleman. It'll be nice if we can get this information and share it with the other HOAs to avoid issues with the brick fences and all that.
Right. What's the best forum to do something like that?
So I think I'll jump in here. I think there's a quarterly HOA meeting, if you would like to be involved in that different HOAs are involved in. And I don't want us to get too in the weeds of why certain applicants are making certain decisions. Some of them might be aesthetic or historical in nature for those communities. So if you want to discuss that more with the other HOAs, we can certainly put you in contact with Carrie Paxton Lamke, who coordinates with all of our HOAs, so that you can network and discuss with the other HOAs some of that information.
Okay. Yeah, just my 2 cents on that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whitney.
So can we
Yes.
get, are there any other questions on this item?
I have one. I agree with Nishad's comment. And even though the HOAs are funding the majority of the cost with most of these, we are funding some of it. And I think it's probably worth looking a little further into what standardization of input we could provide the HOAs by virtue of experience that the others have had. Clearly, some who have a lot of trees or may have a lot more movement around those fences. Others in wet areas may, but if a standard is emerging, that's a good, reliable, and longer term fencing, I'd like to think that we have a stake in that as a city as well, and the 4B, when you look at the funding. So I wouldn't just throw it all back to the HOAs. I'd try to provide some manner of a uniform input from the city if that's possible.
We'll look into if we have any sort of policies regarding aesthetics when it comes to fencing, but I know kind of in the past, my understanding is a lot of that has been determined through the HOA deed restrictions and those types of things, but we will do further research.
I would refer to it more as structure than
And safety.
aesthetics.
Yeah, that was where I was going too, Billy. I agree with you. I mean, it's more safety based on what I understood this gentleman saying around it lasts longer and is more stable with what they were doing than more the aesthetics.
And there's sidewalks adjacent to all of the photos you've sent us. And so there is a safety issue there. But I think it's a very important point that he makes. Not necessarily that, am I recommending that that's the right answer, but there is an answer out there. or there at least is a plea for some sense of safety and structural stability.
So we will
That's what they're-
definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll look into it. But just as a FYI, the committee that Whitney has assembled is comprised of significant people from different departments within the city who analyze these projects very in depth. They ask a lot of questions and they really get into it. And we've got people from Public Works who work very closely on landscaping and deal with their own fence projects as well. And so I think there's a lot of trust in that staff that if they were to see something that wouldn't make sense, that they would bring it up to the HOAs and work through the process when reviewing their applications. But we'll definitely kind of circle back on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no more questions, we'll move to the last project.
Okay, so we need to bring Director Porter back in
And Director Gasani has to.
to go back out,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Can you change it to the next slide, please? So Councilmember Porter, all right, thank you.
All right.
Councilmember Porter's back in the room.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the last project we'll review is from Commonwealth Civic Association. The project consists of monument sign and related entryway landscaping. The total project cost is $12,518.24, and the total requested from 4B is $6,259.12. All right, questions about this one? All right, can bring Mr. Gasani back in.
He's back in.
All right. So now I'll just review next steps real quick. The next step on February 17th is the SL4B finding and funding resolutions for the projects. And then on March 2nd and 16th, we have City Council approval of the grant contracts. And now open it up for any additional questions you have.
Could
Hi,
we,
yes. Oh,
could we
sorry.
go to the, just so we can handle any questions, our recommendation slide, just to have that up there if there's any questions regarding what the final recommendation is. Back on slide 10. Thank you.
Should the request remaining really be 26,656.23? You were saying we had
Yeah.
400,000, so it just seems like there's a typo in there that the request remaining should really be 26,656.23.
Oh, there it is, a typo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I also had another question. So is this money then all through, takes all of the money through our 2021 CIP budget?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So again, to recap, how much was the project that withdrew?
Let me see. Hold on 1 second. That one was $61,350.
Okay. And then how much does the Sugar Creek HOA and First Colony HOA Esplanade landscaping projects total?
So those would be, let's see. Sugar Creek was requesting from 4B $4,001.98, and then First Colony was requesting $25,980.
And Whitney, could you explain the scoring again and the criterion why those two projects didn't score as high as the top 9. And so why this is sort of our recommendation that we've reviewed it with the EDC as well.
Yes, so both of those projects were landscaping, and based on the criteria, something like a fence replacement or a park playground lasts longer than landscaping. And so they scored low in having a long-term benefit. And they also scored low because they were both repeat applicants. They both have already received requested funds. And we had so many applications that were from new organizations that we wanted to support. And so they just scored lower, based on those items.
You did do some landscaping some landscaping ones did score high enough. And I guess those were because they weren't multiple repeats. Yeah,
Yes,
so that's the
yes.
reason that person, had they been multiple repeats, it could have been in the same grouping.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
For,
That's good.
for Sugar Creek and First Colony, they have both received each funding 3 times previously in the last 5 or so years.
Yes.
Okay. But then also, I know that some of the projects, I know one of the brick project fencing, it was also a repeat from a different phase. So they've also received prior funding 2 years ago.
Yes, but they scored higher because the fence replacement and the material that they were using was a longer term benefit. And so therefore
Right.
they received a little bit higher score in that realm that kind of bumped them up more.
Right. And also they were in their final phases of their project. So, we wanted to help them complete that as well.
Yeah, I think, Carol, if I can add on to what you've kind of mentioned, I think it's new to us. When we spoke in EDC, there was this project of the $61,000 in there. So we had approved possibly spending $480 some odd thousand, right? And fronting it from the Reserve for Opportunity. Just knowing Sugar Creek and First Colony are beautiful neighborhoods in our city, they're requesting landscape. I don't think the dollar amount is that great. It's 29, let's call it $30,000 together. I'm just wondering if we can meet in the middle, simply because this is a 2-year combined. We're not going to be able to do this and open this up again until next year, January of next year, if budget allows, and if we feel that there's an opportunity there to continue this project, which we hope we will. So I'm just wondering if it's $30,000 and we had previously spoken about $61,000, why not give them the benefit of the doubt? And then maybe after 2021, realize that, look, you have been getting it over the last several years. We can't do any more landscaping. Maybe we do, maybe there's a different project, but my recommendation is that we bring in these two as well. I don't know how everyone else feels, but that's knowing that we're doing this once for 2-year time period, and we're not going to open this up till possibly in 2022.
Yeah, and I would just add that, yes, in between our EDC meeting and this meeting, that application withdrew. So that was new information.
Sure.
When we met with EDC.
Understood, Devin. Obviously, you wouldn't have known that.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure you all knew that.
No, of course. And I'm thinking if EDC, we were talking of this, $490,000, why can't we throw in $30,000 more and keep our city looking beautiful?
Where does that extra money come from?
Mm-hmm.
It comes
Our
from
Reserve for Opportunity.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Whitney.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. Reserve for Opportunities.
Okay. We have an adequate amount in that reserve.
So we've got approximately, Devin forgot after we just did the carryovers, but we had about 3.5 million. We are also going to be bringing some funding resolutions for Project T that we discussed with y'all in executive session at the last meeting. So we do need to reserve some capital there. And then we're also looking at the next meeting, which is our workshop of our next item, is using the additional Reserve for Opportunities after Project T to fund projects under the All In for SLTX program.
But we do have capacity in the reserve for opportunities for this
If we
request.
don't decide today, we can still decide after we hear about the other reserve for opportunities projects and how they consume our funds or not. I think if we don't do it today, Nishad, we can do it in the next meeting or the meeting after that. It's a little cold to do landscaping right now anyway.
Yeah, and this Steve won't get approved until March timeframe anyway, at least the timeline that I saw, right? So it'll be the spring then. I'm totally fine with listening to what Councilman Porter said. He's got a lot more experience than I do, and I respect that. But I would still like to keep it on the table that we allow these two with the 30,000. That's if Jennifer Brown and Jennifer May all come back and say, you know, we do have enough reserve for opportunity. Obviously, we don't want to spend more than what we have in reserve. So I want to make sure that the monies are there too. I want to be very, very cognizant of that.
Yeah, let me jump in. Yeah, because I was in the EDC meeting where the EDC had said, yes, yeah, we concurred with the 488,000 with the other project that was in there. And I had concurred with not approving the 29,000 for the two landscaping projects in light of the fact that we were already going to need $80,000 out of the reserve for opportunities. But now, like I said, since the $61,380 project dropped out, and then we're now looking at we could do both of these other projects at 29,000. So it's less than, these two projects together are less than half of the project that dropped out. So I definitely would like to, you know, keep considering them. But obviously, it's the way the other opportunities for spending as well. But being a former Fort Master gardener, I will say March is the best time to do landscaping in this area before it starts, so the landscaping can get well established, before the temperatures start to warm up.
So Whitney and Devin, in light of what everyone has said, can you guys take that back and then potentially look at bringing it back in February and can be discussed or added as part of the February meeting?
Yeah, so at the February meeting, we will bring forth finding and funding resolutions. And at that time would be actual votes and decisions on the funding. So this is to receive your comments and your questions on all different applications.
And so if through that, between now and then, it makes sense to pull these back in, then let's consider that as well.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we close this?
All right. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Whitney. And let's move on to the next item for workshop. It's review of and discussion on the All In for Sugar Land, Texas initiative. Elizabeth Huff, Director of Economic Development, presenting. Elizabeth, please.
Good afternoon. How are y'all?
Oh, good.
Next slide. Okay. So as you know, many of our businesses are still feeling the impacts from the COVID-19 health crisis. And as staff has began working on a work plan for business supports and All In for SLTX, our overall goal in that is to build a strong economic foundation for our city as we grow Sugar Land and ultimately help us to compete in the region. Next slide. So what we've done is we have compiled this is an org chart that we've put together. This is a huge initiative that we're undertaking that is not going to just incorporate economic development staff, but other people and departments within the organization. There has been an establishment of an innovation department. And so we saw a really neat opportunity to collaborate with them. And they are in the process of soliciting ideas from internal staff called Sweet Ideas. And so we are partnering with them if there are any ideas that come from staff that could make sense for funding from the 4A, the 4B, any of our TERSs, or the Fort Bend County Small Business Support Program that we just received funding from. we are going to be looking at those, exploring those opportunities. And then we are also, we've got buckets. Sorry, I've got people, I'm going to change my view. We've also got buckets of what the different types of projects that we're considering. We are looking at events, public art, commercial real estate improvements, redevelopment, business, and then the business support program. So as mentioned, we are bringing in staff. I've got, obviously all of the economic development staff isn't heavily involved in this initiative. And then I've also got one person who's on the call as well, Dawn Steff, who is a Sugar Land employee under the Department of E&S. And she is helping us kind of lead some of these activations. Next slide. So when evaluating projects, we wanted to kind of focus on some criteria that we thought would make sense for our community that would have a big impact. So we really wanted to have something that would give us some press coverage, help us get some lifestyle stories. We want to have engagement from the community, and we really want to focus on something that's going to continue to attract tourist employers and a talented workforce. And so whenever evaluating these, we want to look at them and decide, do they have a wow factor? Are they surprising? Are they exciting? Are they different than anything we've ever done before in Sugar Land? And does it fit within our community? And then what some of the categories that we are exploring is the connection to businesses. Public art, I think, is a really unique opportunity for us to engage the community really heavily. And then does it bring exposure to our city destinations? And our destinations are really important to increasing our sales tax revenue and continuing the development of the sales tax revenue. And so the more that we can activate those sites, the better. Next slide. So this is an idea. This is a very, very small snapshot of some ideas that we're considering. You're going to hear more about the movie series here soon. But that is something that has gone really, really well. And so we are looking at now doing a spring series to further capitalize on the excitement and activation. Public art, like I said, is a really cool opportunity. How do we integrate that in some of our parklets or interactive art, some murals throughout the community to engage people and draw them to our shopping centers? For the commercial real estate, I think there's opportunities from the business park to help them create a more walkable environment that would help them to attract and retain their workforce. We've talked about retail facade improvements, and then parks. We've got some other projects that we're going to talk about, but really kind of helping, how can we help activate some of the pieces of their master plan that includes shaded structures and connectivity to the different parks throughout the community. And then for business support, we're looking at the second round of Sweet Cash, and then an open call for projects and some innovation training. Next slide. Okay, so to kind of dive into these projects a little bit more, I'm going to kick it off to Kim Yeardy, our P3 manager.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. So the next phase of this presentation, we're going to talk about some of the projects we've already begun to implement, and I'm going to kick things off with a discussion of Santa's Magisphere. I believe most of you are familiar with the Magisphere, which was an activation that ran in the Town Square Plaza over the holiday season, ran from Black Friday until Christmas Eve. And it was a virtual Santa Claus experience that was designed by our partner in Town Square, Reeves, who works in placemaking and retail management, restaurant retail management in Town Square. And so they, in a partnership with the Flight School, which is another concept that is starting to develop in Sugar Land, they brought to us an idea for a virtual Santa Claus experience that would be, again, COVID friendly. And we ended up entering into a partnership with them through TERS 1, where the city, through the TERS, supported the development of that program or the implementation of that activation over the holiday season. They committed to attracting 10,000 visitors through the program, and we anticipate receiving final numbers on those number of visitors by the end of the month. But as part of that, we received a lot of positive feedback from people who participated. They had a number of city employees that went through, and I heard, do not have children, so did not take myself in to see Santa, but heard from other people who do have children that went to see Santa that it was a positive experience and really interesting and unique way to engage in these times. But we did receive a lot of publicity in some of the media pieces you see here on the screen as part of this program, and it was a very successful project. Again, we're still waiting on the final numbers of visitors to the event, but was a successful notch on the list of All In for SLTX programs that we've been able to see implemented. Next slide. Looking forward into the Parklet program, which you approved back in November. I apologize. The slide here did not get updated after before the updates did not get included in this slide. So what I'm going to read to you is slightly different than what you're going to see on the screen. For those of you who may have heard me discuss this at our recent EDC meeting, there has been a slight modification. The center we were working with, the Sweetwater Kroger Center, Regency Centers Property Management is the group that we were working with in that center. They have actually decided not to pursue the Parklet any longer. I have not gotten a complete rationale for why they decided to no longer pursue it, but we were having discussions over the maintenance agreement that we had discussed when this board approved the project. So we are hitting the streets again. We have a couple of different leads on other, beginning conversations with other leads on other properties that we may locate our first two parklets in. But we do have the design build contract with Telek Landscaping and Construction. They are a local firm in Sugar Land. They office out of Town Square in the same space as Robert White Architects right there in Town Square. And they are under contract to complete the first of the parklets. And so we're working with them. They have a conversation started with the property owner, and we also have staff has engaged a couple of other property owners as well on the location for our first parklet. So we will have more for you as those conversations proceed, but did want to update you that the center we had previously discussed was no longer pursuing this project. Next slide. I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa to talk about the movie series.
Oh, Cam, I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There's the Sprouts Shopping Center off of University and 59, where there's some several like Tropical Smoothie Cafe and some different sandwich shops, Schlotsky's, and some different things like that. Have you had a conversation with that shopping center? Because that would be an opportunity for some of those restaurant businesses to, people could buy food in there and take it and out and socially distance and eat it outside of the parklet, because they really don't have outdoor seating set up there at those places.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And that's really the whole vibe we're going for with the parklets, is just that exact scenario you talked about. We did reach out to them during the initial round of outreach. I will need to check to make sure we followed back up with them since the other center has pulled out. I'll need to confirm that we have reached back out and touched base with them again, but thank you for bringing that one up again.
Okay, thanks.
Great. All right, so regarding the movie series, when we first initiated this endeavor, we understood that the overall goal was to build excitement and momentum for activities happening in our city. And the movie series was designed to promote Sugar Land businesses as well as our destination venues. In this case, it was the Crown Festival Park, and of course, Smart Financial Center, just due to the weather implications, all while ensuring that the event was safe for people to attend. Next slide, please. We're happy to report that we've seen a tremendous success with this initial activation. We had approximately 3,325 people attend the movie series. We sold close to 1,000 ticket entries because it was per car. 5 out of the 7 movies sold over 140 tickets, with actually 4 out of the 7 being sold out. So we couldn't have actually fit more people into the space. Marketing efforts reached over 685,000 people, and that's just in social media alone. We ran additional advertisement pieces through Nextdoor and Houston 365. So that figure actually will be greater than that when this is all done. The movie series landing page
was actually 25% of the Visit Sugar Land's website activation for that time series, with an average time spent of approximately 5 minutes. We're like 4 minutes and 50 some odd seconds. So really that let us know that people were engaged, they were reading, they wanted to know what this was about, they were purchasing tickets. We definitely hit our market on this one. All of this work yielded approximately 52% non-Sugar Lands or individuals coming from outside of Sugar Land, where we were able to introduce them to our businesses, as those businesses were featured on the big screens through either videos or slideshows, kind of like the preview segment that we had discussed and committed to the board. Overall, public reception was very positive, with, as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, requests to continue the program and or to make it a permanent activation. So with that, Spectrum is absolutely interested. They're very happy in the outcome of the event itself. And we are already in conversations to see what something like a spring series would actually end up looking like. That is it for this segment. Next slide, please.
Teresa, I had a question. How did the cost that we spent compare to the budgeted amount?
It actually came in under budget. We're finalizing those numbers. One of the things that we committed to was we were going to pay for things at cost, so there wasn't necessarily a markup. So we're reviewing those receipts right now, but preliminary figures are actually stating that this overall program came in under budget as it currently stands. Another tidbit on that is we're going to reduce from that the tickets revenues, ticket numbers. We were keeping the revenues from the tickets sold, and then 20% of the concessions. And this is all going to be part of an FYI or a memo that's going to be sent out to the board later on this week or next.
Okay, and was there a difference in, I guess, attendance at the Crown Festival site versus the Smart Financial Center?
No, well, there wasn't much of a change in attendance. I think what we saw mostly where people are interested in a specific theme or a specific type of movie. But overall, we really saw a very strong cross-section and interest in wherever the movie was happening, as long as there was something for them that they could do safely, that was meaningful and impactful and engaging. So.
Great, thank you.
Teresa, I have a question. This is Aftab.
Yes, sir.
Did we have any other challenges besides the weather-related, and we had to switch the site? But did we have run into any other challenges?
No, absolutely. We had a tremendous partner in Spectrum. They had an inventory of supplies that if we would need it, we were able to tap into that resource. There was a positive demand from the public. So there was some own organic marketing being generated amongst some of our followers. And really, we didn't have many challenges. Weather was by far one of the most challenging things. It's unpredictability, but more so it's just its concentration. The back-to-back raining really is what threw us for a little bit of a logistical spin. But we were fortunate that we were also able to transition that and highlight a different destination venue like Smart Financial Center.
Excellent. I would just make one additional comment. Diversity is our strength in the city of Sugar Land, and the city has been very good about taking the inclusive approach and reaching out to all different segments of the community. I would just once again reiterate that it'll be nice to introduce other cultures to the citizens of Sugar Land by playing movies of other countries and different cultures. So
absolutely, sir. We're planning incorporating that in some of our plans for our opportunities for our spring series. So we may surprise you in some of the ideas that we can come up with. So yes,
great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Teresa,
maybe we'll see a Bollywood movie.
Yeah, there you go. Just one thing, the sooner the better, because we all know that you're going to be in your cars, generally speaking, and you get much past April and it's probably going to be too warm.
Yes. We're looking at being able to leverage some of this for kind of the spring break series. As some of you might know, our Fort Bend ISD has an actual 2-week spring break this year. Lamar is also looking at a 1-week spring break. And so we wanted to take opportunity and advantage of the fact that we're going to be having a lot of individuals, a lot of young families or, teenagers out wanting to do something that's safe. And so we want to kind of target that season.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's all I have. I think we're on to the next slide. Joe.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Joe Chester. I'm the director of the Parks and Recreation Department, and I was going to introduce you to the idea of a pump track. This is an activity that's used primarily, you participate in primarily on a bicycle, but you can use skateboards, rollerblades, and scooters and other things on it as well. It kind of grew out of mountain biking and just type of BMX riding. And you may be surprised to know, but Sugar Land has become sort of a destination for mountain biking along the Brazos River corridor, where we have approximately 1,200 acres of parkland along the river. And I think it's a pretty good accomplishment that we're known for mountain biking, considering we don't have any mountains in the area. But it's the terrain down by the Brazos River, surprisingly hilly, and it's become a real attraction, a real destination here regionally for bicyclists. And a lot of these bicycles these guys are riding are anywhere from like several $1,000s to $10,000 bicycles. So it's a pretty good sport, and there's a lot of people involved in it. And so the idea of this pump track came out of all that activity that's going on. And pump tracks are really starting to take off, and it's sort of becoming a worldwide type of facility. It really started in Europe, but it's moving into the United States. And it's good for really kind of people of all ages, from small children all the way up to adults. So we feel like that really hits a lot of the needs that we have in the community. It's also a lot of the diversity with the riders themselves. I'd like to go to the next slide, which is a quick video that I'd like to play. And I don't know if we need to play all of this video, Tia, but at least a little bit of it so people can kind of get an idea. It's easier to understand a pump track when you can see it, the activity going on. So if you don't mind hitting the play.
It's Red Bull Pump Track Day, so let's go.
Okay, you can probably stop the video now. And so you can kind of see it's a kind of a fast-paced activity. A lot of people can ride on it all at one time. It doesn't take up a tremendously large area. It's made out of asphalt, so it's a durable surface. It doesn't require a lot of maintenance once it goes in. It's growing that there's international competitions now for this, and the one that video you saw was an event that was sponsored by Red Bull, the energy drink, and they're kind of behind it. It would be a possibility if the track was built to a large enough track that we could build here. It could attract even like a qualifier event or a national event for pump track competitions. But on a normal day, it would be utilized for all the people in the community and attract people to Sugar Land, which could also help spill into people coming to shop at our bike shops or eating in our restaurants and spending more and more time here in Sugar Land. The area that we've identified where we think this would make a lot of sense is down by the Brazos River Park, and right adjacent to the Crown Festival site, which is very accessible at Highway 59 and University Boulevard. And actually, we're cutting a road through right now on a separate project between Memorial Park and the Brazos River Park. So it'd be good access from like Commonwealth and University and all those areas of Sugar Land, as well as down 59. Feel like this would really help activate the area there by Crown Festival Park. We already have ample parking, restroom facilities, and the other kind of infrastructure is already there at the site to support this activity. And it's right adjacent to most of our current mountain bike trails and where we anticipate developing some additional mountain bike trails in the future. And I would like to add that the mountain bike trails that we have probably 20 miles of them or close to it right now. And these were all built by volunteers. The city has not had to take on the cost of developing these trails. We're working with our local bike enthusiasts, and they put in the sweat and man hours, and we help support them with if a big tree comes down or something like that. But it's just a group that's really invests a lot of time and is really involved here in the city of Sugar Land. Next slide, please. So you can kind of get an idea here. This is just an example of one, and this one's in Springdale, Arkansas, and this is where that qualifier event was that you saw in the video. And so it's a series of mounds, and generally the bicyclist, you can do it at pretty much any skill level. It gets your speed up. You get to a certain speed, and then you kind of like you roll through it without having to put a lot of effort in. So it's just an interesting thing. This is one of those innovative ideas that was brought forward to us. Actually, our city manager came up with the idea, and he likes to ride, and thought this would be a good idea or a project to explore. We've worked with the national contractor that does this type of work, and they provided us with an idea of a budget of about $450,000 for the pump track to build a track that would be a high quality facility for our community. That would include things like the drainage and paving around it as well. We have the site that we've picked out has existing drainage there. There's lighting, there's parking and paving. So it's a really convenient location, and it doesn't require a lot of other type of infrastructure to support this facility. We're looking at moving ahead with a preliminary design contract on that, just so we can get a better idea of how it would lay out and get some more defined cost estimates. And one of our ideas is to have the community get involved and have some public meetings to kind of introduce the idea and get some feedback from the bicycling community. And then out of the outcome of that project would be kind of a layout of the track and exactly how it would work and what it would cost. And that's pretty much the pump track idea in a nutshell. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Joe, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's a good idea, and I appreciate you bringing it to us. I guess my first reaction is, what are the risks associated with it? And is it possible to perform some type of a risk analysis and maybe survey some of the other communities that have these to see what those risks are and what the risks to the city may be?
We'll certainly do that, and that's a very good point. We vetted a lot of that information back many years ago, and we have a skate park at here in the city at City Park, and we vetted that legally, through our legal department and through the Texas Municipal League, who we get our insurance from. And we also did the same effort with the mountain bike trails that are in our parks right now. So there are mechanisms in place to make sure that we are covered for that. But we also, in addition to being covered, you also want to make sure it's safe. And we would definitely want to use the experts in the field of developing this kind of facility to make sure that it is built to the best standards possible and follow the best practices on that.
Second question is, being down along the Brazos River floodplain, it does flood periodically. And if it were to, how much of that 450 gets wiped out?
The actual location where we're talking about putting this is on some land that is protected by the levee.
Okay.
On the Crown Festival site. It's actually leased property from the University of Houston that we have for the Crown Festival Park. So it would be protected by the levee. It's just in close proximity to the development there at the Brazos River Park. So we can utilize some of those facilities, such as the restrooms and the parking. And it's a good interaction with the mountain bike trails. So we felt like that was a good safe spot to put it where we don't have those concerns, but it also works well with the activities that go on down there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, I have a similar question to Billy. So yeah, just wanted to, and follow up on that we would really want to, check with some of the bike parks in the US just to find out what they've done for as far as protection from liability. Because I know we've looked at it with the skate park, but this is a higher, a higher level of potential liability. And then also, we've got some very, very competent mountain bikers here, but this can also be used by people of all different levels. So would you, and many people can ride on at the same time. So would you envision having like different hours for different levels of ability? Because you wouldn't necessarily want a 5 or 6 year old child going through this at the same time. You've got, say, a 40-year-old experienced mountain biker.
I think we would certainly look at how the best ways to operate it would be that an operations plan would be put in place to make sure that you don't have too drastic of a change in between riderships. But you can also kind of set these up so you kind of have you don't have to go through the whole thing. You can kind of concentrate on some areas. Like if you'll see in the picture here, the section closest to you can sort of be ridden standalone from the rest of the track. So there are some options there, but we would certainly look at any type of operations plans like that would need to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Where's the closest model that you're looking at?
I do know the one that this one I'm mostly familiar with is in Springdale, Arkansas, but there's one that they're working on right now in San Antonio, this same company. So we can go closer to that area to see that. There's quite a few what call irregular BMX tracks, which are mostly dirt. You can see those around in places like there's one on the north side of Houston where they have a track, but it's not really a pump track like this. It's more of a true BMX race track, which is not really what we're looking at here. But there aren't a whole lot of these, but we have looked at them. There's one also in Tulsa, Oklahoma has one. And then there's, like I said, the San Antonio location, and they're starting to build more around the country. And we're still in the process of researching all these, but the company that we've reached out to is the one that's the American representative for the European country, Velo Solutions, who is building these around the country. So we've got really the premier organization involved in developing this track.
And from an economic development perspective, I want to just reiterate that we got really excited about this opportunity because we see it as something different, something unique that we don't have in the region. And then also the ability to hopefully attract competitions and get some hotel stays out of it and capitalize on the excitement and the destination building that is happening from the Mountain Bikers Association. It just really aligned in the All In for SLTX program initiative, and we're very excited about this opportunity. So can't wait to see what comes from the design contract.
I think it's I really, really do like it. I just had a curiosity question. Is it something that then when people would come, not when there's a competition though, that there would be some type of entry fee? I mean, is there some element of that comes into play? Because I also would think you may or may not, I don't know, want some type of fencing or security because of the liability aspect, because I had that question as well.
I think that's something we would definitely explore in more detail as we review the other ones around the country. Most of them are not. They're open to the public. It's not much different really than riding on dirt trails that are out and available. It's just that it's a pavement surface that, it doesn't, one of the problems with riding on dirt trails is when it rains like it does, you really can't ride them, because they're so wet and muddy. But it's as far as how you operate it and utilize it, it wouldn't be much different than our trails that we have around the city right now.
Okay, thank you.
I've got, I'd like to build on something Carol said. I think separation is going to be important, and I don't think consigning kids to the small area is going to be a winner for them. So I really would like you to look at how other areas make sure that there is time for Sugar Land residents who have kids that want to use this are not going to be mixed in with people that come from out of Sugar Land that are definitely going to be moving a lot faster. So I fully support having trying to get tournaments and whatever here. But at the same time, when we're not doing tournaments, I think it's important for people in Sugar Land to be able to use their own facilities safely. And so that's I think Carol hit it on the head about her comment.
Very good comments, and we will strongly consider that as we're doing our planning efforts on this.
Any more questions?
One quick question, Joe, great initiative. And if we are the only ones having such a track in the greater Houston area, are we expecting overwhelming response? And if that happens, then again, going back to Carol and Amy, is it going to require staff to manage this particular track to avoid any issues and conflicts? And if yes, then should we budget for that?
I don't think that would be a 4B funding consideration. I would not, I guess because I can compare it to the other things that we have throughout our park system. We've got soccer fields and baseball fields that attract a tremendous number of people. We've got the skate park that we have. We've got the mountain bike trails. The dog park's a good example that, they're facilities that attract people. I think it would be popular. I really do think it would be popular, but I don't know that we would get to the point that it required like daily staff to be there and operate it. I would not anticipate that. That's not what I've really seen in the other locations where we've seen these. And I'll certainly, we'll factor that into our planning efforts, but that's just not what we've really seen as an issue at the other locations.
And I think that's the benefit of it being funded from the Economic Development Corporation versus the general fund, is that our dollars are meant to create activity centers or recruit people to our community to increase our sales tax revenue to offset property tax revenue. So for me, I think it's a great win for the 4B to be funding it and being able to really leverage the attraction of people. I think that's something that we will definitely work closely with Joe, though, to make sure that, again, it's a quality of life benefit as well. So we want people to move here because we have these awesome attractions, but we also want the visitors to come and eat at our restaurants and spend their income here. So I think there's a balance there and we can look at it. And I mean, in my world, I think ideally, if it's so successful, we would have one, we could do another one. We'll just have to see how it goes. But I think maybe I'm being very optimistic here. But I'm very excited about this opportunity, and we'll work closely with Joe on kind of taking his lead and his guidance on making sure that we have the opportunity for our residents as well as visitors. And that could come down to having certain times that is for Sugar Land residents, and then certain times that are secured for the competitions and for outsiders to come in and also assess the risk and liabilities there. So. These are great questions and great feedback that we will certainly take back and look forward to bringing back the design and answering these questions for you further.
And it's if we find that the other locations are having some of those issues, we will visit with you about them.
What's that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Porter.
I probably interrupted somebody else. Who else was talking? Billy, was that you?
It was Joe. I was just trying to say that if when we investigate these further in other locations, if they found that they need fencing or some of those other kind of control of features around them, we'll certainly add that and factor that into it. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My comment was, how fast can you get it done?
Well, we're moving forward with getting this preliminary design contract done right now. So we're hoping to hit the ground running real quick on finding out all the cost and finalize how it would work.
Yeah, and that's part of, I will actually address it in the next 2 slides. So if we have any more questions.
Billy?
One clarifying question. Are we talking about something like a P3, or are we talking about something that the city parks would operate?
I would anticipate it would be operated by the Parks and Recreation Department.
We might, look at those, again, see what others are doing and what best practices seem to be.
Right.
Will do.
We have someone else operating our outdoor movies. And there might be some type of a venture there, as opposed to the city owning it and operating it, that might be worth looking into. I'm not recommending it. I'm just thinking of it as another possibility.
Will do.
All right.
Okay, anything else? All right, next slide, please. So excited to announce that last night we took the amendment to receive $2 million from the Fort Bend County for us to be able to create a business support program. This is going to fit in really nicely with our All In for SLTX initiative. Since we now have the funding from the Fort Bend County, we have separated certain projects, 4 different buckets of projects to go under those funds. We will be leveraging the Sweet Cash round 2. So we are allocating approximately $1 million to go to Sweet Cash so that we can infuse more dollars into our businesses that are suffering. We released today, hopefully you got the email, a request for placemaking where we are going out and leveraging, reaching out to landlords and nonprofits to come up with ideas and submit applications to us for business resiliency programming and pop-up improvements and expansion of public art. So the resiliency is to help them open temporarily and permanently, that can give their businesses more safety and customers more comfort in being able to go to their facilities, like touchless entries, stuff like that. And then from the pop-up improvements, we're really looking at food truck park improvements, whether it be temporary or permanent, like bringing in murals to certain commercial shopping centers, facade improvements at different shopping centers. So super excited to see what kind of applications we get in and how much we'll be able to fund there. And then we're also launching a business innovation training and coaching as well. And then we will be taking the second reading to the next city council meeting for consideration and are moving quickly on opening up the Sweet Cash applications round 2. So once we get that open up this week, please help us spread the word as best you can. Next slide.
So Elizabeth, that's 10 times the amount that we originally thought that we were thinking that Sweet Cash would go, right?
Correct. And
wow.
we still have some carryovers that we brought to the 4B board for the Sweet Cash, because we weren't 100% sure at the time if we were going to get the business support program from the county. And so we are looking at the $1 million there potentially a million plus 100,000 of the 4B. So
Well,
super excited.
Congratulations on that program. That's spectacular.
Thank you. We're pumped up, and the team is gearing up to go and purchase a lot of gift cards. So we're still working on the distribution and what that will be. The county has asked that we focus on residents in need that have been severely impacted by the pandemic and the economic crisis it has caused. So we're focused. We're trying to figure out the distribution of that, but we're really focused on getting the business applications opened up this week, so that we can start receiving that and get the funds to those businesses as quickly as possible.
Elizabeth, I
Yes, sir.
met with owner of a small business restaurant last night after our city council meeting. And I mentioned that, hey, we're talking about opening up Sweet Cash round number 2. We talked about it this evening in our city council meeting. He said, I already knew about it. Your staff has already reached out. So kudos to your team for proactively going after. And I know you've said it, but these are, and in fact, it's the same place you, myself, and Elizabeth met one evening. You happened to be at the same restaurant as us. And the owner was very, very grateful, saying that the staff has already reached out. So thank you to all your team.
Awesome. Well, they are all on the call, so they have been hitting the ground running and have done a tremendous job. And I'm very, very proud of them and their outreach. Thank you. All right. Next slide, real quick. So these are the sources and uses that we've kind of come up with. These are some estimates. We were very excited to be able to add the $2 million from the business support program from the county. But we're really looking at, like, events is a great opportunity. We've done the grade out for the 4B and the TERS is because we have used those dollars. The TERS one was for the Santa's Magosphere in Town Square. And then the 140,000 was from what we've already executed with Spectrum. But we are looking at other opportunities for the events and see some of that happening through the Fort Bend County business support program. And then, so this is kind of a really rough estimate of what we hope to be able to add some of those dollars, but excited to be able to have the multiple funding sources to leverage for our All In for SLTX initiative and all the exciting projects that we are hopefully going to get to launch here pretty soon. Next slide, please. So with that, so far, these are all of the pieces that we have accomplished. We've met with EDC. We had the workshop and council consideration yesterday, and then we're workshopping this with you. Our next goal is to bring a public hearing and funding resolution approvals to you all at the next meeting. That will be kind of larger in scale, where we would be looking at especially like the pump track, as taking the Reserve for Opportunities over and allocating that for the All In for SLTX initiative, and then being able to quickly move on some of those projects as well. And as mentioned, we will continue to bring updates to you through workshops to keep you informed of all the exciting things. And hopefully you are all getting our newsletters. And if you aren't, please let us know so that we can add you. But this is our next steps, and we are very excited about it. So any questions about the program?
Elizabeth, if the Santa Claus one ends up, as you review, being successful, I don't have kids, but I wonder if something like the Easter Bunny would be also something that kids would like to.
You are thinking very in line with us already. We have been pushing them to, like, is there a way to do a Cupid in Town Square? How do we do the Easter Bunny? So they have some really, really neat technology that we're excited to try to push them and partner with them on opportunities for the for Town Square and activating the site here. So great point.
Okay. So now I think we move to the next one. I don't think we need to do a vote. So the next item on the agenda is the director's report, and Elizabeth Huff, Director of Economic Development.
All right, so I do have a really quick update for you all. There's no presentation. This is just a speaking points. Thank you. So I wanted to really quickly talk to y'all about DCI and kind of update you on some of the work that's happening. as a part of this integrated marketing campaign, our office has been working with DCI to complement the organic efforts around earned media and digital marketing with strategic paid digital campaign to drive brand awareness and promote business investment and talent attraction in Sugar Land. This program is going to play to Sugar Land's strengths and focus on areas of opportunity like headquarter relocations and life sciences, while leveraging the existing SLTX brand and lifestyle assets that make Sugar Land appealing to those target audiences. The core components of the paid digital campaign, which are different from our organic social and e-news digital marketing efforts, are going to include paid search and digital display retargeting, search engine optimization, and paid searches. This strategy is going to be continually monitored and adjusted as metrics indicate traction in specific areas of opportunity for the city. DCI is going to provide monthly metrics and traffic and make recommendations for any pivots or adjustments based on our user behavior or other national trends influencing location decision-making all over our marketing efforts. So they are deep in the immersion tour and have met with several members of the community and are wrapping that up. And once they've got that, then you'll hopefully really see some of the hard work from their assessment into these next steps and components of their contract. So along with All In for SLTX, we're going to continue to keep you guys updated on all of the great things that are coming through our marketing program. And that is all I've got for tonight. So appreciate your time. Sorry for going over, but I think it's been a great discussion and we really appreciate your support.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well done. So now, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to
Motion to, and a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so Carol did the motion and Director Gasani did the second. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. See you again in February.
Good job, everybody.
Take care.
Congratulations.